My name is Ian and welcome to Planted. In this video I'm going to make what I think will be a very compelling argument to get you to grow plants in the ground rather than growing them in a pot. Now pots have their place, but there's no doubt in my mind that getting a plant in the ground on a good root system will give you increased flower, foliage and fragrance. Let me show you what I mean. This is my beautiful snail vine or corkscrew vine. It's called Cochliasanthus. It's a big hit, people love it. I am absolutely committed to growing it in the ground. I've got some that I grow in a pot. They're okay, they're not great. They are substantially better if you can get them in the ground on a big root system. And they'll even set seed pods that will ripen. The problem is that when you grow it in the ground, this huge root system is very difficult to dig up, and that's what I want to share with you today. If you've dug up plants in the past, it's possible that you have not dug up enough of the root, whereas what I'm going to do today is dig a really big hole, capture all the roots, and then make sure I have enough. The first thing to do is give it a good haircut. I like to leave some foliage on the plant to keep it growing, so let me show you how. In my climate, this is a tender vine. That means that it will not survive our cold winters. But the effort I give the plant in digging it up and replanting it next spring is because of the remarkable flowers, the great fragrance, and the wonderful foliage. To me, it's an absolute must-have. A common mistake when trying to save a choice plant like this Cochliasanthus is to try and save too much of this above-ground growth. It's difficult to unwind, and it will make the plant dry out really quickly. It'll be a big shock. So what I've done is I've cut back to about 2 feet high. Now I do realize that not everybody is able to get out there with a spade and start digging a trench. Good soil, which I have here, is because I add a lot of organic matter and I avoid compacting it. It makes the job easier. The trench in this situation is about 1.5 feet deep, and I'm digging about 2 feet away from the crown. And all of that is so that I can capture the biggest root ball possible. And it's that large root ball that gives the plant the ability to take up huge amounts of water and nutrient that you just can't get reliably from a pot or a container. And look at that root ball. That's why in-ground works so well. And this is what we need. This is where the plant stores energy for it to grow next year. Yeah, that'll be just fine. For new gardeners, I want to explain why I do this. I spend all that time digging up a large root ball, only to then come along and start cutting the roots back. But you see, I now have a choice. I can choose to get the best size root ball to fit in that pot before I pot it on. If I had been a little more aggressive, some of those roots may have snapped, and that would not be good for the plant's survival. I'll put a little bit more growing medium in here just to make it flush with the top of this crown. Don't plant it too far one side or too low. Get it in the center, get it at the right height. I want to show you these. These are the beans that are juvenile. These will never ripen. You can pick them and you can put them on a windowsill, but you see that inside they're white and they're also juvenile. So those are not going to be able to give you seeds for next year. But the plant that was in the ground matured much earlier, set flowers earlier, and these are the seed pods I got. So I'm probably going to have, I would think, 30 or 40 seeds that I can share ready for next year, which is great. This is the same corkscrew vine grown in a deck box. I've got 2 plants in here, and you can see from the way I'm pruning, these stems are a lot thinner, they're not so mature, and the plant is not so substantial. And that is specifically because the plant is grown in a pot. Now you could say the pot's not big enough, or I shouldn't have put in 2 climbers, I should have planted only 1. That's as maybe, but many people put plants in a container in April and May when the plants are small and everything looks in proportion. But inevitably you miss that ongoing supply of water and that reliable supply of nutrients. And this is what happens. You end up with a plant that's heavy on top growth and the roots can't grow more than the size of the pot that they're in, and ultimately the plant gets diminished growth, which is exactly what happened here. I could have given it even more water, and I could have given it even more fertilizer. But if your plants are not producing the way you want in the latter parts of summer, it's because they're in a container. Here I am very carefully removing these two corkscrew vines. They've got swollen roots, which is a storage mechanism for them to grow next year. A little bit of a prune, and these plants will get potted on and they'll be fine for next year. But do understand, diminished availability of water and nutrients that you find in a pot will prevent your plant from giving you the most wonderful results. Thanks for watching. Tell everybody. Bye for now.